Welcome, everybody, to Papa Spice's Hot Takes with Hans and Harry. And boy, do we have a good one here for you tonight, folks. We are going over episodes 7, 8, and 9 of WandaVision. That's right, the last 3 episodes, including the series finale. But before we get to all that, Hans, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I've never been so happy to be so wrong about so much in my life when it comes to this show.
That's a great attitude to have. Harry, how about yourself?
I'm doing good, Greg. I'm doing better than Hans. I know before we got on, he was struggling over there. So I hope he's got it under control and he's all set.
I think he'll power through.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I'm good. I'm good now. Technical difficulties.
Good. Glad to know you're all straight. Okay, so we're going to be talking about episodes 7, 8, and 9, like I had just mentioned. Warning, heavy spoilers. So if you haven't seen any of these episodes yet, what are you doing? Go watch them. Pause us, go watch, come back, listen or watch. But yeah, definitely. And as you guys are probably aware at this point, this episode is dropping a week early just for you guys. We wanted to make sure it was nice and timely, our WandaVision discussion, that is. And our next episode will be on the 26th. So we'll be going bi-weekly again after this episode. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the deal. Episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall. So tell me about this one, guys. What'd you guys think?
Go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. You can take this first, please.
He's still having technical difficulties.
I'm good. I'm on board. Go ahead.
So obviously we talked in if you haven't listened to our previous episode on WandaVision, definitely jump back. We covered episodes 1 through 6, but in this one, this is the last episode before we, stop doing the other show inside of a show. So we get some heavy Modern Family and Office vibes. If you've ever seen those recent comedies, me and the wife were doing some binging of Modern Family. We only got 2 seasons left, so that's been interesting. It's a fine show, but not talking about that. So early on, we see Wanda's kind of struggling with her abilities from the aftermath of episode 6. The Halloween Spooktacular.
Mm-hmm.
So she's kind of struggling to understand what's going on. Why, early in the episode, her kids talk about, hey, there's something wrong with our game, and it changes from like different controllers to Uno cards, and then when she's pouring milk for herself, she has, some issues with the milk changing to like 1950s and all that stuff. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. I loved the scenes in this with Vision and Darcy just kind of teaming up on a little bit of a kind of a road trip, heading out to try to get to Wanda, and just the interviews with Vision were pretty. I love the kind of breaking of the fourth wall for this episode. But what did you guys think of that? I thought that was kind of one of the highlights of the episode for me.
Listen, I am all about Kat Dennings as Darcy. Give me all the Darcy all the time, baby. Yeah, I thought it was really cool to see Vision team up with her. Thought it was interesting that they had her as the escape artist in the circus. That was pretty cool. So yeah, anything with Darcy in it, I'm all about. Hans, how about you?
Yeah, I actually, my favorite part with that whole thing was how basically they're being stopped from going to get to Wanda, so they're like stuck in that little area, and Vision's still doing the interviews. And at one point, she's just like, "Wait, what? Why am I talking to you?
What am I doing?"
And, yeah. So it just like it kind of, it was really funny how like that kind of played out, and they included him with like the interview format with the episode. I like how Darcy, like, I was curious how she was going to enter the hex from like the previous episode, like what her kind of role would be, and I'm glad that she wasn't in kind of under control for the longest time. Like Vision snapped her up fairly quickly, because then I think that's the Darcy kind of everyone like knows and loves when it comes to the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think their back and forth was great when she was kind of giving him a rundown of like what was like who he is, and I thought that was a cool add-on to it. But yeah, I would have liked to see more of it, but instead of sacrificing the story, they kind of moved on and had Vision fly off to Wanda. So
who gives the better story recaps, Kat Dennings or Michael Pena?
I think it's got to be Pena.
Yeah.
I would actually love if they just have them two in character, like explain the previous 23 movies.
Yes.
For the next phases,
yeah.
And like
Dude,
brought
put
like,
it on D plus. Like I'm all in.
put it on Criterion so Harry will watch it.
Dude, unbelievable, Chris.
Hot take coming already.
Not a needed comment. I don't appreciate it. So, yeah. So I was going to ask really quick, guys. What did you think when Monica Rambeau enters again? Like, did she? Because this might be more of a nerd question for you guys. Did her powers like upgrade? Did she fully like? What happened there when she went back into the hex or the larger area or whatever it was?
Hands, why don't you take that?
I think that she probably already had, and this goes once we get to the next episode explaining Wanda's backstory in terms of her powers. I think that there was probably always something there with Monica, and the hex kind of like, I guess the radiation from the hex escalated it, or mutated it, unlocked it, whatever, or kind of made it stronger. I would buy that. I don't think necessarily the hex gave her powers, because I just think it's, why didn't anyone else get powers except her? So I think there might have been something in her genetics that just kind of unlocked, like as you said, like unlocked her powers.
Yeah, and I didn't see it as her powers being escalated or upgraded when she went through that final time. I saw it as like that was like the final straw to tie everything together. Like she was getting control of it, which is they had that really cool effect where there were the different iterations of her struggling and trying to break through the hex, and then all of a sudden she gains control and whoosh, everything gets centered, and she's able to finally power through. So yeah, I think I agree with Hands though, for sure. I think that was latent power that was unlocked by the hex.
And then the best, probably my favorite part of the episode, is the last 5 minutes when one of our theories was proven true with Agatha.
One of our theories. Do you want to say whose that was?
I don't want to point fingers, but
all right, for everyone at home, it was Chris. So in case he's humble bragging, real well.
In the most obvious revelation of this show, I was right.
No, but hang on. You said she was helping Wanda, and she wasn't helping. She was trying to go against Wanda.
All right. Sure.
Semantics.
Sure.
Yeah,
if we're talking
we'll get into this in a little bit. If we're talking
but I think that that reveal, it was coming in most of our eyes of who we knew. Anyone who's known who Agatha Harkness was, and you knew that Agnes wasn't really who she said she was. So I think that was that the fact that they revealed it that early, I guess towards like the 3rd episode in, I thought maybe they would have given another episode or two, or maybe towards like a little, like maybe in the beginning of the finale. But I think the way they did it was great. And then leading into the next episode, when we start talking about that, I think that you start to see exactly what she had control of, especially when it comes to certain characters that we're going to get into. But I thought it was a really cool reveal, like towards that, like the very end, where she just said, Agatha Harkness, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. And then bam, and then that catchy
dude, that song is so catchy.
Yeah, it is.
I've been humming it all afternoon before recording.
Yeah, personally for me, it had like Munsters vibes.
Oh yeah,
so like I was totally digging it for that.
It was and it fit perfectly. And I know Harry had mentioned earlier that this was the last thematic episode in terms of like following it to like an episode format. And I think that ending fits so well with the rest of the series, like from past, but this is like a great episode that moved the series forward, like for the last 2.
And I think for me, the big question was answered, like the big reveal of who killed Sparky, or how did Sparky die. And we got this at the end. I knew it was Agatha. She couldn't be trusted, and she killed poor Sparky. And I mean, if you didn't shed a tear, if you didn't turn it off and unsubscribe to Disney Plus, then you have no heart.
This is an old head shout, but the biggest mystery since Who Shot JR was who killed Sparky. And we finally found out who that was. So yeah, she is evil.
And then the only other thing I was gonna add is this is the first episode too where we see the post-credit scene with Monica Rambeau running into, Pietro or fake Pietro, and running into him and him, I guess, kidnapping her, or that's how like, hey, she kind of gets held up, as far as helping, although she really doesn't help. So
it was
we'll
an interesting choice to have that as a stinger,
as teaser,
as they're called in the biz.
Yeah.
I'm curious why they decided to do that and not just throw it on as a scene.
Because I'll touch on this once we get to like the finale,
Mhm.
but I think that Disney, or the way they're making and editing and writing these episodes is they just want people to talk, and the minute like that post-credit scene happened, like Twitter blew up, and all their crazy theories that people are like dishing out there. I think that Disney did a great job keeping people interested and like having conversation going. But I think that's probably why they put it in there. But I don't want to go on a rant right now, but yeah, we'll get there.
Fair point. All right, so then moving on, we're on to episode 8, previously on. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, this is where we kind of get Agatha's backstory. It has a little bit of the purple opening instead of the red opening, which was a nice little nod to her. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was kind of confused when I watched this backstory the first time until episode 9, where like I thought she was just a stronger witch and they didn't realize it. And then I slowly realized, oh, she like takes your power from you and then kills you. And I was like, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But this episode for me is, I mean, it definitely, I feel like this is where, I don't want to say it's not the strongest episode, but it's just kind of a rehashing, like kind of things we already knew and adding more points into it to kind of connect everything together, or to kind of, make it so, because Agatha is basically just trying to figure out who Wanda is and how she's able to do all this, and for me, it's just, I don't know. I didn't vibe with this episode as much. I was really looking forward. Like, I wonder if they had paired these two together, 8 and 9, as just kind of like a finale, drop both of them at the same time, if it would have been a little bit better. But I just felt like, I don't know. What were you guys thinking on this?
For me, it has a brilliant piece of writing and brilliant moment where Vision is consoling Scarlet Witch, or I guess Wanda at that point. And then, there's that beautiful line, but what is grief if not love persevering? So I think the writing and especially the acting in that scene was excellent. But yeah, 100%. The rest of the episode, not necessarily throwaway, but like it was a lot of just more filling in the gaps and exposition and stuff like that. It wasn't necessarily the most riveting, even though it did have strong points in the show.
Yeah.
What do you think, Hans?
No, I love the history nerd in me. Like, kind of went back and looked at like some of the beginning stuff from Agatha's backstory. I think it's interesting that like it was during the Salem witch trials, but it wasn't necessarily, she wasn't being criticized for being a witch. She was being a witch that was, dipping into some stuff she shouldn't have been.
Yeah, nice little turn there.
It was cool. And then I went, and a few things I looked up, and when Agnes said her birthday or anniversary was June 6th, which is a big day in the Salem witch trials, I think that was when they either began. So I think that was kind of a big hint for a lot of people. They were saying like that's why she's going to be revealed as a witch. But I loved her whole the whole backstory with Wanda. This is very, very similar to other shows that do, like in their penultimate episode, they do like kind of backstories with what's really going on. Like Lost did it with the history of the island. I think it was really cool to see how Wanda, like her, like that line that you said, like from Vision, is like that was all over the internet in about like 4 minutes after he said it. But no, it's definitely to see her go through all the grief. Like we saw it necessarily for the first few episodes, like we didn't really know what was going on, but then you see like why she's going through everything she is, and her relationship I feel was better explained with Vision in 5 minutes in that one when they're in the Avengers compound than it was in whatever movies and scenes they had before, like especially like in Infinity War. This was probably, I liked it, probably my second favorite episode of the season, behind the season finale. But I think there were a lot of questions that were brought up that we definitely get some answers to. But then like going forward, we start like I think they open up some questions for future projects with the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and one other question I had for you guys. Sorry, I got all the questions tonight.
It's all good, baby.
There are
Bring
so
it
many
on.
questions, so it just keeps.
So
keep
like,
bringing
all
them
right,
on.
so this episode ends, and I'm not trying to jump to the end of the episode, but this episode ends with her calling her the Scarlet Witch. But is that like a mistake by the Marvel Universe? Like, didn't we already know she was the Scarlet Witch? Like, I'm a little confused by that.
It's weird because I don't think she had that as a code name. I think in universe they've only ever called her Wanda Maximoff, but I know like in marketing materials, action figures, stuff like that, they've said Scarlet Witch, like officially licensed stuff. So it was strange, but I guess because in universe they hadn't technically called her that. You know, this is the big reveal.
Yeah, because the wife looked at me during the episode and she was like, "Don't we know she's the Scarlet Witch?" And I had no good answer for her. So that's why I turned to you guys.
Does this have any? And I think this might have, and I'm not exactly sure. Like, they don't call Pietro Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. I don't think.
No,
I don't think so.
So I thought about that too because I did see like some other things online about that. Is it possible that like I guess did Disney or Marvel have the rights to use Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, the names? I don't know if there was like a legal thing behind it. I know they couldn't use the term mutant, but
yeah, that's a good question because I know there were some deals back and forth with Fox, 20th Century Fox, before Disney bought it about what can be used and what can't be used, and we'll lend you this character if you let us do this. Like they did that with Skrulls and all that stuff because the Chitauri originally, I believe, were supposed to be Skrulls, and then they couldn't use Skrulls, so they used Chitauri. Which in the comics, in the Ultimate Comics, were like the equivalent of Skrulls, but that's going on a whole other rant. But listen, bottom line
learning time. This is learning time for everyone.
Yeah, bottom line is, I think maybe they didn't. Maybe Fox owned the rights to those names, and then Disney reacquired them later, either through some deal or when they actually bought Fox.
Like, but I like, the cat, like basically, if you're watching it, you know she's a Scarlet Witch. I think it was just a big deal because it's finally like her being acknowledged as that character.
Well, so here's a question because I'm not I'm not the most familiar with these movies, but the Fox X-Men First Class movies, I think Pietro, he debuted in Days of Future Past, right?
Yes.
Did they call him
wasn't First Class? Yeah.
No. Did they call him Quicksilver in those movies? Like either that or Apocalypse or Dark Phoenix?
I remember like if we're measuring like this much of those movies, and it's really just Fassbender scenes. I don't think I can tell you any other anything else. Like I forgot some of the cast because I was like doing some you know, off the side like dream casting of who I'd cast for the X-Men, and I'm like, you know what, this person would be good, and I'm like thinking, oh yeah, like we already got a first class Cyclops and a first class like Jean Grey, and they're like, you know, not the best, and I'm like, yeah,
great actors and actresses, but
just not in those roles.
Yeah, not for them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the less said about the Fox X universe, the better.
Yeah, it's gone.
So what else we got with episode 8 here?
I you know, Hayward, his intention, like I don't know what this dude's deal is. I loved how we're led to believe that Wanda was like stole Vision's body, and that whole scene of her just going in the sword and just flat out just like, no, I'll open the doors, I got it. And I love how Hayward earlier in an episode like edited the whole video to make it look like Wanda was up to something, and it just, she leaves, just walks out the door, says her goodbye, and I think a lot of people then when they were watching it were waiting for like her to maybe sit in her car and like go back into the facility or something. It's like, no, she broke in, like she didn't necessarily break in, they just let her walk right through. Because at that time she wasn't like a threat, she was seen as a hero. Right.
And I think on top of that, they were probably trying to manipulate her emotionally a little bit. They didn't want to, you know, tick her off so that she does go on a rampage and destroy all this stuff.
Yeah, I think there was like probably at one point, Hayward, it seems like kind of like I don't want to call him like an evil genius, but he's definitely probably saw that as Wanda coming and would be able to like utilize this later if need be. He probably looked at the footage and was like, you know what, we're making it look like she broke him out.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic reveal later in the episode, because one of the biggest questions is is this a real Vision? Is this, and I know Greg, you've said
Bizarro Vision.
Is he a meat puppet?
Right.
Like, did she pull his dead body through into the Hex? Which no, she just flat out created him.
Right.
Like, so I think that was like a cool thing, because we're all expecting one thing, and Disney's misdirection just led us into like Wanda didn't really necessarily do anything wrong.
Did you guys catch any feels when you saw his disassembled body laying there? And
it was really weird.
it was tough to look at for me, because it's like, even though it's not a human person, I'm saying it even right now, even though Vision isn't, a human being, seeing a dismembered body there, even if it's robotic, is just strange. So,
well, they also kind of hint at it. Like, I remember in the one episode, I think it was maybe 3 or 4, when Wanda looks back at Vision and sees kind of like when he got the Mind Stone removed from him. And that kind of, so it does kind of pull to that. But yeah, I mean, just imagine watching your loved one be pulled apart, and not cool. No good vibes there.
Pretty brutal.
And you bring it to like where I think she said she was his next of kin, and she's like the bot, like, I have the rights to it. And then you're like, all right, well, she's not, like, does she eventually get the body? And then Hayward actually came up with a good point where he's just like, I'm not going to give you $3 billion worth of vibranium just so you can bury it. And then at that point, I'm like, well, he's got a point there. Like, like that's the only.
By the way, what the heck were those saws made out of that they were cutting through vibranium?
Oh, I know. I thought that was supposed to be like indestructible.
Yeah. So
like, they made of like Thanos' sword.
A lot of questions there. A lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's the many the plot holes you can fall down forever with.
Picking nits.
Yeah.
What else we got for episode 8 here?
I mean, I think the what you mentioned about spots that hit hard, Greg. I think one of the spots that hit hard for me was when she drove to where Vision, had envisioned them having a home in Westview, and it kind of, while I said earlier I think this was like my least favorite episode, I just think it's the most a different episode, as for lack of a better word. And this part where it kind of hits, it's one of those parts where it's just like, oh man, that's a sad, like, here's this future that's not going to be realized because of this. And you see from her powers, and I mean, I think for Wanda it's just like, she doesn't realize how powerful she is because of all this grief that she's been going through, so she was able to just kind of release it all in that, and then create this world for her and Vision.
Don't bottle stuff up, folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna try in my backyard and just do that, like fall on my knees and just like yell. Just see what happens. I'll probably get a lot of weird looks, but I'll be like, I'll look around. I'll be like, oh, no, nothing changed.
Maybe you'll go Super Saiyan.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll either get committed or go Super Saiyan.
So I guess one of the big questions coming out of this here is the M word, right? Is Wanda a mutant?
Yep, I threw that word around a lot, and I think that was the intention, to make it seem like she did have some sort of powers. Now, as we kind of get into some more dialogue within the episode, I don't know whether or not she's like a reincarnated witch from Salem era back in like the 1800s or whatever that was, but or 16. I think it was 1600s. But I think that the fact that that Pietro had powers, now they could have been escalated as well from the Mind Stone. I think the Mind Stone definitely gave her abilities now of what she had, but she might have had some sort of they alluded to her having some sort of power that stopped the bomb. But I think that the way it's going to end up going is in the future projects, once they start introducing mutants, they're going to probably reveal that she always had this like gene inside of her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that she's a mutant, but certainly a superhuman. I'm hoping that they tie in that she is a mutant. That's the route that I'd like to see them take. But yeah, you're right. They definitely alluded to her having the ability to control probabilities, which is why the bomb didn't go off when she was a kid. So, and I guess, yeah, whatever the Mind Stone enhanced her or really bumped up her powers. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Harry?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be an easy way to put mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think with the way they could go with it is, and I think what a lot of people have been theorizing, even us, where it's like you start to see, a character from, one of the X-Men movies put into the show, and it's like, oh my gosh, so we're doing it. Like, here comes the X-Men, here comes all this. And it's like, I think this is one small step towards it. There was 23 movies to build up to Infinity War and Endgame. In total. So this is just one little piece of the puzzle that I think, once we get deep into, the second iteration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it'll make more sense of like, here were the breadcrumbs that led us to this point. I think a lot of people, even, myself, like to jump ahead and be like, okay, yeah, Magneto is going to be here, right? He's going to be jumping in next episode. And it's like, hold on, like we'll get there, but this is what's getting us there. So yeah, I think it'd be a really cool thing to do and easy way to, get everything tied together there.
Cool. Any other thoughts on episode 8 before we move on?
The only thing I was going to say is, yeah, I don't think this was my least favorite episode. Once we started talking about it, I just think different episode, but it kind of leads to, us understanding Agatha more. Mm-hmm. And I think, with the end of the end of episode 9, we kind of get a hint that she's going to be around for a little bit. So I enjoyed her kind of trying to understand like, hey, I'm like the most powerful witch in the world. Why is this, why is this, witch, why is Wanda possibly more powerful than me?
Yeah. Okay. And then moving on to the series finale, episode 9, which is called series finale. Hans, you had some observations?
Yeah, and I know this was confirmed. I don't think the reason they called it series finale is we're not getting a season 2 of WandaVision. Mm-hmm. I think this was and I'll touch on this a little bit in a little bit later. I think this is the end of her kind of origin story. There's no need for a season 2 of WandaVision. Like mm-hmm. I think if they did a season 2, it'd be more for like financial reasons and just like kind of like to milk it a little bit. Which I know like studios tend to do like tons of times, but I think that the reason they called it like series finale, not series finale, is to like kind of just confirm that this is all we're getting from the WandaVision world.
I could see them doing a season 2, if you will, where she's hunting down Vision, the new Vision,
Zara Vision.
Yeah, but it's still not going to be WandaVision because it's not themed around, TV episode sitcoms. So it would have to operate under a different name anyway. Right. But even that, it's like you said, it's not necessarily something that I need to see.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to tie in Vision somehow in some way in one of the future movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I think they did that kind of just to kind of confirm that this is what we're getting.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And then leading to that, Disney has become the king of trolling throughout this whole. Now, when I said earlier, I've never been so happy to be so wrong, mm-hmm. is because that every theory, and we discussed this on the last show with WandaVision. We said, is this person Mephisto? Is this person? Like, no, there were people that were thinking like the pizza man was Mephisto. No, he was just a guy delivering pizza in the mail. Like that was his job. He was part of Westview. And we're led to believe after we saw Ralph or Pietro, mm-hmm. I think that like we're all like, oh my God, like the multiverse is happening. We get that Nexus commercial that we didn't talk about. And the Nexus is basically the center of the multiverses. Yeah. And it all leads to just everyone being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved this episode. I loved every second of it because I think my expectations were going where it's like this person says like I was wrong so many times, and I'm glad I was. But I think that Disney did such a great job getting everyone's expectations up. And they even said, they're like, I forget who it was. I think it was the creator said, like, you're going to be disappointed if you think all the things that you theorized are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because you only get 47 minutes plus like just some, like, I think they were going in one direction where they could have done anything they wanted. like, and could have serviced some of those theories, but they didn't. They told their story, and I was very happy with the end result. Like, I love the end result, but it's just for weeks and weeks, it was just constantly every new character was, is this Mephisto? Is this blah blah blah? Like,
Yeah.
It's insane, and I sorry, I had to go on a little bit of a rant for like how much I hate but love Disney, and it just, they gave a lot of great conversation online.
And it wasn't even just the Mephisto stuff too. I mean, you look at the engineer that everybody thought was going to be Reed Richards.
My hopes were to the moon. They were to the moon with GameStop stock. and what happened? Nothing. It was the engineer was nobody. Nobody. I think I said on the text. Yeah. I think I sent on our text. I said he was literally, or I don't know if it was just a Greg. I said, did you watch it? And I said, it was just someone. It was just one. He was probably off screen. And that's what I mean. They do these little things and little parts of dialogue where they know people are going to be like, oh my God, John Krasinski's coming, like myself, he's going to be the engineer or something. And yeah, you're not right. They're completely, people theorizing are completely wrong, but I think it brought a lot of really good conversation from, which I love. And it goes back to the week by week episode where it gave people a week to just come up with some just crazy ideas.
I know.
Or Disney's getting getting these fans to write it and not paying them because he's so that's my other theory. But
well, that's clearly not the case because nothing came true with that.
No, I meant for future. They're going to be yeah. Let's bring Reed Richards in as the engineer. That's a great idea.
It is kind of going off what you said about the weekly format. I really appreciate that. I know there's a lot of well, not a lot, but I do see some chatter online about, oh, why can't you just drop it all at once? I want to binge it, right. Blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, that's a dumb business model. Why would you drop it all at once instead of just letting people subscribe for 2 months and watch the whole thing?
Right.
But secondly, yeah, it gives time for that expectation to ramp up and that excitement to ramp up and all that water cooler talk to happen. Yeah. So I like it. I like having that old format back. I don't think everything needs to be a weekly format. When I'm watching whatever the latest true crime thing is that drops on Netflix, I like being able to binge it all at once. Yeah. But for episodic shows like this, I'm all about it. Just don't give it to me all at once. Let me simmer and soak in all the juices.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Let me come up with more theories where I'm completely off on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they wanted to drop, I guess it would just be if Black Widow was supposed to tie in Loki, Winter Soldier and WandaVision, and they dropped them, March, April, May. And then it was hey, you can watch it all before, that comes out. The Netflix model, I feel they do that because they just have so much content all the time that it's here it is, watch it whenever you want. And they were the first in the game. So for Disney to go this route, to go more of the old school route, I do enjoy it more. And it allows, for us and, the people at home to, hey, text their buddy, text their friend, text their loved one, be like, you watch the new WandaVision. It kind of allows us all to be in this experience together where, it's hey, did you watch that true crime documentary on Netflix? And it's which one? Or, hey, did you watch Bridgerton? And it's I'm in on episode 2. Chris is on episode 5. You finished. And it's all right, did you get to the part where you meet blah, blah? And it's no, who's that? And it's oh, sorry, you'll find out. So I think it allows for, while it's hey, somebody hasn't started that show yet, it allows for more time for people to catch up and be with everyone else. I remember Breaking Bad was kind of that first show that got that Netflix bump, where all of a sudden everybody caught up via Netflix and then the show was still airing and it was boom, I'm ready for the final season. So, I think if it was a case where Disney needed to pump this out to make it before a next movie, I could see them being hey, here's all of WandaVision, enjoy. But then I also think it would get lost in the sauce a little bit with this discussion. And I think it would probably be not as well received either, to be honest. I think people would be yeah, it was fine. But I guess we'll have to wait and see with the next show. But yeah, I really enjoy watching it from week to week. I know you've said it before, Greg, but it's appointment TV where it's like, me and the wife are talking like, hey, when are we watching tonight? 5, 6, let's get it on before, we get anything spoiled or anything like that.
Yeah. Amen.
Sorry,
And
went on a rant there.
no, it's good. And even with that appointment TV, she's like, oh, well, my wife, that is, she's like, oh, well, WandaVision's done. I'm going to miss our Fridays. And I'm like, oh, no, next week is the making
Hold
of,
on.
and then we're jumping into
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, baby.
Absolutely.
It's on. So Fridays ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, and I mean, that's smart by them too, to stretch it out to get the smart thing that Disney's always done, or at least the Marvel Universe has always done, is you've had it like at least 2 to 3 movies a quarter.
Mhm.
And now what they're doing is they release a show. It's in the talking points for 2 months. They have the making of, which people will be talking about. Like, how cool was that?
Mhm.
And then boom, right in the Winter Soldier, which will lead, I think, Black Widow and then Loki, because I think Loki got pushed back a little bit.
Mhm.
So it's just the content is just going to keep coming from them. And it is at a point now where as much as I poo-pooed it like early on, it's like I got to keep watching because I don't want to be a Chris and miss Captain Marvel and be like, who are these people? What's going on? What is this?
Amen. Okay, so enough about appointment TV and all that stuff. Let's move on with the episode. We had a nice little reference to an old school movie in there.
Oh yeah, did you guys catch it? Did you guys catch it?
I
Were you
did.
guys pointing? Did you do the Leo point? Up right there, Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch underneath the house or
That's
underneath the
right.
car in this point, losing her slippers.
No body this time around, but we got the boots
No.
chilling there.
Yeah.
Also,
the feet did not roll up.
I believe there was another reference also to the on the movie theater screen.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone catch that?
I watched it twice, and I don't think I did. I thought it was weird that she
Oz
went all the way
Great
to the.
and Powerful.
Oh.
Yes.
Which was directed by
Sam Raimi,
who's directing?
Doctor Strange too.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? I caught that briefly. It was when towards the end of the episode and the realities were shifting between the different time periods. So yeah, that was a really good catch.
Yeah. So a
Nice.
lot of Wizard of Oz talk here.
Catch
Paul
us on our next podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Coming
Psych.
soon, the Oz podcast. Paul Bettany as Vision and White Vision. I absolutely loved him. I thought he played off. We know he was good as Vision anyway, but I thought he played White Vision excellent as well. Just that cold, calculating, robotic demeanor. I think that's a talent, being able to just drop all emotion out of a character and have that cold lifelessness. It's really it speaks to his talent, but I don't know. What did you guys think?
Yeah, he definitely. It's up there where like you look at Terminator. Like I'm gonna use that as a reference. So where like Arnold plays that, like he's a straight face, like he plays that well, like with no emotion. Now Arnold's like doesn't seem like it's a far range for him to do it, but I think like it's hard to play like that kind of a robot character. Like I think with Vision, I always thought Vision was more human than robot in terms of like because he actually had emotions and like he was able to be able to just basically fall in love with Wanda and everything. White Vision's perfect. Now there was a lot of rumors going around that this was going to be the next the reincarnation of Ultron, which I thought would have been really cool, but I'm kind of glad that it wasn't Ultron. But I think that I always find it interesting when one actor has 2 roles in like a specific like movie or show. I think when they always have scenes together and like you definitely it's definitely 2 different acting styles for Bettany here. Like he's playing like you said, like just cold and calculated, like he's basically like non-existent, like he's not alive. And then you have Vision, who is basically created by Wanda to have emotions. So I thought it was really neat, but he did play it off really well. And Paul Bettany's the Sean Bean of the MCU now.
Nice.
Harry, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is more Bettany the better, especially with my wife. She's smitten by him, so she definitely enjoys him. But yeah, it's a bizarre Vision versus fake Vision. It was a fun fight. It was cool, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed his performance with it.
Cool. So then we have, I believe it was Agatha mentioning the Darkhold. Was this the first time it was noted as the Darkhold?
It sounds like nerd talk to me, so I don't know.
I don't know if it was in the episode beforehand, if it was mentioned by name, it was they showed it.
Right.
But there was also, I saw some talk, and I didn't watch the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Apparently, the Darkhold was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., was kind of a MacGuffin.
Okay.
I think. And I don't know if they called it the Dark. I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they actually called it the Darkhold. But I think this is in WandaVision, it was only known by name once, like in this episode.
Okay. So Hare, as we get into the nerd talk here with the Darkhold. Darkhold is a ancient mystic book.
Okay, yeah, the one she opens up while she's talking to her.
Yes. Cathan, a demonic elder god, was Earth's first practitioner of black magic, and he was the author of the Darkhold. So he collected all of his knowledge of magic and basically bound it within the Darkhold. And it was used throughout the centuries by different people. It actually led to the Marvel Universe's creation of vampires. Cole and Thulsa Doom had some run-ins with it. People like Merlin have tried to destroy it, but just totally unable. But I know this is super fascinating to you, but I just wanted to throw it all out there because it's awesome.
For our listeners and viewers who are just waking up, Greg did a wonderful job of talking.
And here's the other thing too, because there's a particular group that has had run-ins with the Darkhold, and that is the Midnight Suns. That's right, baby. This is one of the insignias that the Midnight Suns use. The Midnight Suns, for those who don't know, are a supernatural version of the Avengers, basically. You got Blade, Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, like all of these guys teaming up to take on supernatural threats. So I'm hoping we get a Midnight Suns crossover soon.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh during that, but the only time, as you're explaining, I just had my eyes fixed on Harry's reaction. That's all. That's why I was laughing, because like the whole time he was just kind of like.
For the listeners, I was staring right.
This
glazed over.
Like in a matter of 4 minutes, Harry's not. Like, we're gonna have to explain this all to him again.
Don't worry, there'll be plenty of Marvel content to go back over.
Oh yeah, I expect you all to read it this weekend.
Well, moving on,
the people need to hear what this all means, so this is for their benefit as well.
Absolutely, yeah. This is for everyone's benefit and
for the
yours chiefly.
Thank you.
So another thing that was mentioned here is your power exceeds that of the Sorcerer Supreme. So a little toss away line by Agatha talking about the Scarlet Witch being more powerful.
Does this tie in the Harry Potter universe, or is this?
Yeah, you nailed it right on the head. Yeah.
Yep.
Our listeners, please comment and write in on Harold's ignorance here.
Oh man, love it.
But no, yeah, I mean, saying that Wanda is more powerful than Doctor Strange is a pretty interesting thing, and I'm surprised that they put that scale in there, that power scale, I guess, but it is what it is, I guess.
It's definitely a tie into the next time we'll see Wanda, which will be in Doctor Strange 2. Was anyone else after she said that just like hoping that at some point we'd see Benedict come through and just start owning all these guys? Like I was waiting for it. I'm like, she said it. Paul Bettany's talking about a big cameo. Like, bring him in. Like, especially when she was like kind of like, when they get to the fight, like we'll talk about. I'm like, dude, Strange is coming. Like, yeah, but
I didn't think I thought he was going to appear in the post-credits thing. I didn't think he was going to appear during the fight, because this was Wanda's thing and she needed to fix everything. But yeah, cool. I thought for sure there would have been an appearance.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about the Pietro / Ralph Boner reveal?
Genius. It was genius. Disney just
biggest
said
trolls. There you go.
Biggest trolls. They were like, I spoke about this, like, I think on the last time we talked about, where like, who is Ralph? He's been mentioned for forever, but we don't know who Ralph is. An X-Men character comes through, or an X-Men cast member comes through. We all just think like, all right, then there's the post-credit scene with Monica. All right, this guy is really up to no good. Like, he's definitely working with Agatha or something. And he's Ralph. He's not like Ralph as like Mephisto or anyone else. He's just Ralph. And I thought it was such a good idea. And I know there's so much disappointment with it, but I think it was such a good idea to basically, like, this is where I say, like, Disney's trolling. They get so many hopes up, and then they're like, nah, like, this isn't, like, we never promised you anything.
Yeah. It was, I will admit, it was disappointing to me. And this is one of the few times you're going to hear me say anything was disappointing in this episode. But I thought this was disappointing, not because Pietro didn't turn out to be, from the X-Men universe or whatever, but it was more disappointing because it's like, okay, you have a guy who looks exactly like the Pietro from a different universe. You call him Pietro, but he's not Pietro. So like, why does Wanda think that he's Pietro? Like, why did they? It's just a weird coincidence that they happen to pick a guy that looks exactly like this other guy from a different universe.
Yeah.
Now, Harry, what do you think?
I mean, I got to agree with Greg. I thought it was a little disappointing. It's just a lot, like Greg's kind of saying, it's a little confusing. It leaves you kind of questioning. I do also see the side of it where it's like, well, these are the breadcrumbs that, the X-Men will be joining and mutants and all this stuff. And like, here's how we're kind of hinting and nodding towards it. But it did feel kind of a letdown. I would have rather, like, it also felt like, I don't know, like Ralph or Pietro, whatever you want to call him, or Quicksilver. He flicks over Monica Rambeau, and then like 2 minutes later, she's taking him down. And it's just like, it just seemed like a way to keep Rambeau away from the fight, even though she didn't really get involved with the fight other than, one part where she shows up to block some bullets from Hayward. It's just like, it wasn't my favorite part of the show. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think about the fact that we brought it up the last show was, and the one unfinished, like a kind of a question that they didn't answer this episode was the whole FBI wanted or the witness protection, whoever that was. They never really kind of revealed it this episode. Like, I mean, Jimmy Woo was barely in it, and so they never like kind of closed that loose end up. So, do you think it's possible that Evan Peters isn't done with the MCU in terms of this character? Like, what if Ralph is basically like is still
Peter
is Peter or something? Like, do you think they could probably?
Maybe
I don't know.
His middle name is Ralph Peter Bonner.
But like, why would he have a headshot of himself like with that says his name on it? Like, maybe he's an actor from Westview. I don't know, but like. Could this be revealed in a later project like Doctor Strange 2? Like, I don't want them to take focus off moving that story forward to reveal that he is the real Quicksilver or whatever. But I think that with him focusing on that, like in his intro of a witness protection, like someone in witness protection, and them not answering it, I feel like Evan Peters isn't going to be done, and there's a little more to his story.
Yeah.
I mean, could they come back to it? Sure. Will they? I doubt it. Maybe they'll take a moment in Doc Strange 2 to address it, but I think this story is done. I think Ralph was just Ralph and there's no connection. I think, you posit a very good and credible, theory, but I don't think they're putting that much thought into it. I think it was just, like you said, let's troll the fans and give them something to talk about.
Yeah.
So one line that I really liked was from Deborah Jo Rupp, Mrs. Hart, saying to Wanda, "Your grief is poisoning us." The writers, man, they throw in some doozies of lines, but that's something that really kind of hit. And it's like, yeah, again, don't keep your stuff bottled up where it just explodes and impacts all these other people. Talk about your feelings, get your grief out and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, like you said, the writing on the show has been great, especially in these last second half of the episodes. But like this is where for me, like a lot of things add up with Wanda, where we mentioned a little earlier about her origin story, and like she hasn't been able to realize her powers because every time she's either hiding them or the grief, or the pain is causing her to subdue her powers. and not use them and be aware of them, whether it be from her parents dying to Pietro dying to Vision dying. Like, a lot of things have happened to her to cause her to not be her true self and, realize who she can be. And I think that line kind of helps sum it up a lot, with it as well.
I also think too, I don't think necessarily that was, I think that was more Agatha controlling them and making them again. Like, I don't necessarily think like Agatha took them out of their whatever status they were in. I think Agatha was just manipulating the state that they were in and made them think that Wanda, like, I guess, how else would they know that she had any grief? Like, once she like kind of exploded and caused Westview, those people probably had no idea what was happening. And I think that Agatha kind of controlled Mrs. Hart to say that, to kind of, manipulate Wanda, if that,
Well, okay, so now we're going to get really nerdy here. But I think, with the state of the world and everything that happened with that final battle in New Jersey and Avengers Endgame, they probably, well, no, this would go even before that because Vision died in Infinity War. So I'm guessing there was probably some news debrief by the Avengers saying, yeah, we had casualties on our side, these people disintegrated, Vision was slain in battle, like all these things. So I'm guessing the people knew about that. Why did Wanda disappear in Infinity War? She did, didn't she?
Yes.
Well, there's the funeral scene, right? And then, or are we talking about like in the middle of the movie?
No, I'm talking Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Oh,
She
right.
was one of the
Sorry.
ones that, yeah, she was one of the ones that, yeah.
Okay, so my point with that is she doesn't have a chance to grieve because as soon as she's brought back is when they're doing the final battle and everything. Yeah. And then she's like, I've been away 5 years. I want to visit Vision's body or whatever. So,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, I don't know. My perception of it was Agatha really did cut the strings on those people because she knew that they would turn on.
I think
Wanda.
It was similar to when Vision unlocks I forget the character's name, but the one actor he works with at the job, Vision's fake job.
Yeah.
Norm. I forgot his name on the last episode. I called him Carl.
But he unlocks them, and then you kind of see his true thoughts. And I thought that was it too, because also with the episode before, in episode 8, Agatha's trying to understand how she's doing this. So she's helping kind of Wanda fulfill her true powers to take that from her so she can be the Scarlet Witch or the most powerful witch.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But yeah, and then after that we get I loved it. It was a little Avengers kind of family moment there. Did you guys enjoy that or smile? And it's like, kids,
I liked it, but I thought it was a little cheesy.
Oh, I love the little cheese, man.
It was a little
so good.
It reminded me more like the Incredibles. I don't know why than the Avengers, but yeah, it was a little.
Good shout. But it was just a little moment that I enjoyed.
It was cool. Yeah, I appreciate the cheese with it.
Yeah. Again, put on your hats for nerd time, guys. So Monica Rambeau can take bullets now. Like, I don't understand her powers, and maybe it's because this is like out of order, and like Captain Marvel 2 hasn't come out yet. But it's like I'm not understanding like her exactly, her character.
So my understanding of her powers, at least in the comics, is that they're all light based. Right. So she would be able to phase similar to Vision and just turn her body into pure light, but that wouldn't slow down bullets like it did in this episode.
Yeah, she looked like she was turning into Jello.
Yeah. So I'm guessing whatever it is, like her powers are slightly different here than they are in the comics, because that kind of surprised me too. I was like, oh, they're just going to go right through her and shoot the kids. And then,
that's what I thought too. I thought too, like they were going to, they weren't slowing down. I thought like I thought it was just slow motion. Like I didn't necessarily, I thought that one of those kids was taking a bullet.
Well, so you weren't the only one surprised.
Good. Thank God. All right, good. And then my other question for you guys is, what is Hayward, like we talked a little bit about, what is Hayward's plan here? He literally gets out of the car to shoot some kids. The bullets don't go through the kids, and he just jumps in the car and like wants to drive away. Like, what's the strategy here, guy? He's terrible.
All right. So I think Hayward is being misunderstood here. Is he a bit of a jerk? Sure. Is
100%.
He a bad guy here? I don't think so.
He tried to shoot some kids.
Okay, but here's the thing. First of all, he knew they were fictitious kids, right? He knew they were created
It
by
felt
Wanda's
real
magic.
to me. It's real to me.
Yeah, because
Did
he
he
was
know?
watching. He watched the sitcom.
Yeah, he watched the
Okay.
sitcom.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So he knew.
He's got all 8 episodes on DVD. Don't worry about it.
His goal, as far as I interpreted it, was use his vision, White Vision, to go in and take out Wanda, because
Of course.
she was the one that was controlling this entire town.
Yeah.
From what I'm looking at, Hayward, other than what he did with Vision's body, which, you know, is kind of a gray area. I'm not necessarily agreeing with it, but I'm saying I understand it, kind of like what Chris said too about the, you know, $3 million of vibranium, whatever it was. Other than that, he hasn't really done anything wrong. He's trying to free the people of Westview. So why is he getting arrested?
I feel like, so, I mean, he's getting arrested because I think too many people know about his plan. Like, Jimmy Woo escaped, like, Darcy's still around, Monica's still alive.
So isn't that like a court martial by the U.S. government or something? Like, what is that like? Why is he getting arrested by FBI or whatever?
You know what? You bring up like a really great point, because up until I know we had some notes like beforehand, and I saw that, and at first I think it's just like we're kind of told he's the villain, like one of the villains. And I think it's just one of those things that we just believe it as viewers to say, we're kind of expected to root against him. But like, you're right. He necessarily doesn't do anything wrong. Like when Darcy said, what did she say to him? Like, have fun in prison or have fun in jail or something. Like, I kind of thought like, what are his offenses? Like, I guess if you see that this hex is a threat, like I'm sure no one really knows what's going on with it. Like outside of it.
His offense is that he's an idiot. His plan didn't work. He told too many people.
There's a lot of people like that. They're not in jail.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. But I think his plan backfired. He didn't really have a good backup plan. He's kind of an idiot.
That's fine, but you don't go to jail for that stuff.
Well, he was in charge of SWORD. He took $3 billion worth of vibranium and was using it against. There's people there, so there's citizens there that could have been harmed,
but they weren't. Vision didn't attack those citizens. He went straight for other Vision, and
maybe
Wanda.
He'll get released on good behavior, and he'll be in one of the next Marvel movies, and we'll be like, "That son of a gun, he's back. Hayward's back."
I mean, I'm not the guy to stick up for villains or anything, but if you look at this logically, he didn't do anything wrong.
The only thing I can think of is like like Jimmy Woo, like he texted whoever, Cliff, not Clint, on first listen. It's Cliff. He texted him to say, like, and you don't know what he texted him, but he was kind of like, "Hey, you need to come here, like, whatever. I need backup," or whatever it was. Yeah. But I'm like, maybe it was mistreating a federal agent or something. But I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I tried to nitpick of what he could have been doing wrong.
I think we spent too much time on this idiot Hayward and his strategies, and was he going to jail? He's a terrible guy. He didn't do good, and just get him out of here. I didn't enjoy his character.
25% of the people I know in real life, and they're all walking around outside of jail.
Yeah, you know what, guys? There's
one of them's on this podcast.
There's only one response I have to that, and that is free Hayward.
Free Hayward.
Yeah, so
that's not what I thought it
said. All right. Well, moving on from Hayward, who is unjustly jailed.
Free my mans. That's what Greg's going to be out there on the streets.
We
mentioned, start a new hashtag.
We mentioned Darcy, and I am sad that we got barely any Darcy in this. You know, I understand there's a lot to wrap up, but having her say one line, 4 words or whatever was disappointing.
Maybe 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Like maybe and I forgot about her at that point because we had like 2 episodes without her. And I understand, like, yeah, you need to include her, but I like give her a bigger role or something. I don't know. And,
you know, she kind of disappears mysteriously. I like the line, you know, debriefs are for the week. That was pretty cool. But all signs point to her not being in the next Thor movie. So, you know, do we see Darcy again? I mean, her popularity was through the roof for this.
Yeah, I find it. I mean, her popularity was the other way around for Thor, which I thought was unjust when you know, the other Thor movies came out. But I think like I trust nothing that any of these, other than Tom Holland, I think I trust nothing that anybody in the Marvel Cinematic Universe says. So her saying she isn't in Thor, I just, we'll see. You know what I mean? Maybe she hasn't gotten a call yet. Maybe they're holding it back to do some, maybe a little thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see her again, because I think also her and Jimmy Woo and Monica was a great little trifecta, with the three of those. I think that was a positive light on the show as well.
For sure.
I could see her popping up in Thor. I don't think she'll have like as big of a role as she did in the first two.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would think even maybe in Doctor Strange 2 at this point, I think she would be more likely to pop up in that, since she has like some history with Wanda and like her abilities in the Hex. But that's, I don't know. I think she'll show up again. I guess it's a matter of like, where. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going into the I guess that they were in a library or whatever, but the Vision versus White Vision battle, and Vision uses the Ship of Theseus logic to kind of say,
cool.
hey, I'm not the real Vision, I'm not your enemy. Like, yeah, I once believed that, but I've been disabused of that.
That was great. Like when he's like, what's he say? He's like, my sole purpose is to kill the Vision.
Yeah.
And then he like puts him in the chokehold, and he's like, I'm just the conditional Vision. Like,
right.
I'm not the real one. So now what?
So I thought that
elaborate.
I thought that was very interesting. And, what comes out of that is that we see the magic Vision unlocking the data in White Vision, all the memories, that had been locked away. So I'm very interested to see what becomes of White Vision. He just kind of flies off, and that's the last that we see of him. But I think that there's definitely some emotional material to be mined from that, because now you have a person who's being flooded with all this data or all these memories of things that he didn't go through. And does he choose to, rejoin that life and try and reconnect with Wanda, or does he disavow that stuff, or is he just indifferent to it? So there's a lot of good stuff to be mined with that. And I really do hope that we get to see that in some form or fashion.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think? I mean, do you guys want to see that in a movie, or do you think that would be better fit to have its own series?
I wouldn't say a series, because I think like for God knows how many years, like when Age of Ultron came out, like we were all emotionally invested in Mind Stone Vision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I would include him in a movie. I don't know which one, like at what point and what phase we would do it, because I think that us, like as like, Marvel fans, we were saying goodbye to Vision in this episode. Like I think he's technically the same, like he's not the same Vision, but you can definitely get material out of him in terms of like storylines and all. Like he can reconnect with Wanda, and at that point Wanda can be like, the last time I saw you, you were like trying to kill me, or trying to kill my husband. And I think there could be like a trust kind of storyline going there of her trying to fall back in love with that Vision, with White Vision. But I think from this point we were emotionally invested in Mind Stone Vision, or like the one that was created for the Hex. So I think at that point it's going to be like kind of a whole new character. Hopefully Paul Bettany still continues to play him, but I think there is a future for him. It just where it seems like the MCU's going, I don't know. It's hard to tell where he'll show up again.
Give me that solo Vision Quest movie. I want it. Have him reconnect
Vision
with
Quest.
Wanda, or try to, and they can sort out all those issues in there. But I'm all about it. Okay, so if I'm being honest, I didn't love the fight between Wanda and Agatha. I thought there was a little too much ethereal energy. So what I would have preferred to see is something more akin to the Doctor Strange and Thanos fight from Infinity War. I thought that was really cool, seeing the way that Strange used his magic. And granted, I understand Doctor Strange uses a completely different type of magic than Wanda does. But, Thanos would throw something at Strange. Strange would morph it into something else and throw it back at Thanos. Or Strange used copies of himself to take on Thanos. Like, I thought those were really inventive ways. And here it was just a giant energy fight. And it's like, that's kind of boring. I think it didn't live up to what it could have been.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Hack. No, you take it.
I think it's just the pressure of just having to have that Marvel kind of finisher in the last episode, and also kind of showing I want to say the limitations for TV as opposed to a theater or movie experience. So that's what I would chalk it up to. I mean, it wasn't my favorite fight either, but then again, like I don't really love it when these movies have to have all right, it's the last 20 minutes. Here we go. The big bad and the heroine in this case, fighting it out. And it's like, it was fine. But I agree with you. It wasn't like, it could have been better for sure, but wasn't a super fan of it.
Yeah, I thought I liked how it like the episode kicks off right away with the action. Like the first half of the episode is just all action based, which I like because I think they kind of were able to flesh out the emotional stuff towards the end. But I like what I liked about the fight was like kind of towards the end where we start getting the rune magic where Wanda kind of tricks Agatha. I thought that was kind of neat to see that like ability, but for the most part they were just shooting projectiles at each other, like which I didn't think like I think once Wanda like did that whole she's like, all right, I'll be back, mommy will be right back, like I gotta go take care of this. She flies off and like disappears. I thought that was cool. But everything before that was just kind of like pew pew pew. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, I love Dragon Ball Z, and that's the type of stuff we see in Dragon Ball Z. But this isn't Dragon Ball Z. This is something different.
I thought it looked cool, like, but I think that you would expect like, and again, Wanda was trying to figure out what her powers actually were, and she like trying to get control of them and everything, and I think it was just like it wasn't as climactic as I kind of they were kind of leading it up to be. But yeah, I thought it ended really cool with her putting the giant runes on there, like I said. But other than that, it was kind of like a subpar kind of witch fight.
I will say though that Scarlet Witch fit is absolute fire.
That's my favorite costume in the MCU. That is
it really?
That is amazing. Like it's so like
they did the comic version justice, and it's, believe me, I am all for female empowerment, but she looks very attractive in it. I like her do. I like everything about it. I think that they really nailed it with that.
Yeah, that whole transformation with it too was great because I think a lot of people one thing I like to do is watch like reaction videos of like stuff like see how like other people kind of like on YouTube or anything. So I seen a lot of people that like as that was happening they like kind of knew like this is what we were getting, like we were getting the outfit. And then like it was really like I just like the whole look of it, and like you're right, like how like her hair and everything kind of changed, and like even towards the end you get it with the hood, you see her like have the hood up with it, and I thought was pretty sweet. Yeah. How what do you think?
I mean, I don't care that much, but it was cool. Like it looked cool. She looked cool, and I did like her hair in it. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I don't read the comics. I don't do that stuff. So when doing justification, it doesn't really matter to me as long as she looks cool and it's not exploiting her. You know what I mean? I think it's it's cool.
Her comic version was basically the Halloween episode.
Like, no, of course.
I think for the MCU, like this fits perfectly in like what the other costumes kind of look like. In the
it's
MCU.
A really good extrapolation, and it still appears practical.
Yeah.
So it's good.
So.
Yeah, then when she cast that spell on Agatha to kind of keep her as the nosy neighbor, which was pretty funny. But she leaves us with the line, "You're going to need me." So I just found that really cool and I think I'll be happy that her character is kind of sticking around. Usually I'm more upset when it's like we don't kill the villain and it's like we drag it out. But with Agatha's character, I feel like we didn't have a lot of time experiencing her as her true self. So I was happy to see that. Hopefully she'll be back in some form or movie or whatever.
Hold on. So you are upset when they don't kill the villain?
No, I'm upset when they do, when it's like one and done. Like if Agatha was gone, I'd look at that like, well, why? Like it feels like more of a waste to me. Like, we got a backstory and I would have probably been okay with it. But like normally it's like, here's this character for this one movie. And now by the end of the movie, they're completely gone or wiped away.
Okay.
And it's like, cool. Let's rinse and repeat for the next 4 movies until we find a Loki. And it's like, we'll keep him around for a couple movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, but sorry if I misspoke on that. But yeah, that's my feelings on it.
That's like a very like superhero movie type thing where it
that's what
is
makes me
annoying
hate
because
them.
like because like Black Panther or like Killmonger, and then like what's the other one I was thinking of where they do it too, where they kill off like the
All of
Red
them.
Skull in
Yeah,
Captain America,
Red
where the Red
Skull, yeah.
Skull, he just like I think he's probably one of my favorite like just comic book villains, but he didn't get justice. Like, and when they gave him another role, it was like years down, and they gave him 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I agree with Harry. I don't like when they do that, and I think that it's kind of like, I know there's other stories you want to tell and you don't want to kind of recycle villains, but that's what comics do. Like they tell so many different stories, and villains evolve, and I mean that's why like at one point in the comics Thanos becomes a good guy for the most part and helps out the Avengers. Like would they ever do that? I think he's done in movies, but that's, you could still use villains in another way. So and to Harry's point, I really hope we see more of Agatha in the future, but
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know where a good place for her to fit in would be other than, Doctor Strange, but but at least the option is there as opposed to them just killing her.
I think a lot of that was based on what the reaction would have been to Catherine Hahn, like too as well. So they kind of left that door open. But if people weren't really receptive to her or her storyline, then they can easily just like close the door and be like, "Oh no, she was just saying that." Like, you're gonna need me, and
this is so
they can go either way.
Yeah, for the listeners and viewers at home, this is the part of the podcast where Greg goes off, and we shed some man tears. So just to brace everyone.
Okay, well, no, not quite yet, but a couple of quotes that I thought were really fascinating. Again, kudos to the writers because they really knocked it out of the park. But Vision asking Wanda, what am I? And she starts in with her explanation, and then she says, "You are my sadness and my hope, but mostly you're my love." I thought that was really beautiful. And then,
Dude,
go ahead.
Keep going.
Okay.
No, keep going. I want you to keep going. This is going to make me emotional.
And then, Vision said, "I have been a voice with no body, a body but not human, and now a memory made real. Who knows what I might be next? We've said goodbye before, so it stands to reason." And then Wanda says, "We'll say hello again." So jeez. I'm not gonna lie, when I watched that, I shed a thug tear, baby. It came out.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about that writing?
I mean, listen, on first watch, like obviously the wife is sitting crying next to me, and it's hard to see your loved one start crying and not be like emotional about it. But on second rewatch, it's just like, it's so hard. I like had to kind of fast forward because I was like, it's great dialogue. And like we said, some of the writing in this episode is wonderful, but it just, for me, it was a moment where I was just like, I gotta fast forward. I can't live through this again.
Didn't want to turn on the waterworks.
No, I didn't. No, not at all.
Chris, what did you think?
See, I didn't get as emotional as you guys did. I didn't shed any thug tears. See, my tears come from when I'm watching movies like Armageddon and The Green Mile.
Okay,
the classics, classics, everyone. Oh my god.
No, to your point, like the writing on the show is phenomenal, and I think they really touch on. I mentioned before with Wanda's grief, and I think the dialogue fits really well into like what she's going through, and even little lines in that scene where Vision turns on the light and he said like, "I heard it's bad luck to say goodbye in the dark" or something, and he's like, "I read that somewhere," and Wanda's like, "No, you didn't." Like she knows. Like I thought that was like So I thought that was like genius where like Wanda created him and she knows everything about him, and But I thought I think it really touches on the points of both characters, like Vision, who's not technically real, and he's still developing like these human emotions, and
he cried,
and which robots can do, and
got a little oil up in the.
And I think that how Wanda, like during that whole goodbye scene, it was kind of like more tough to watch. Like I thought it was harder to watch with saying goodbye to the kids when she said thank you for choosing me to be your mom, and I was like, oh, like this is like I think I was trying to figure out what was happening during that whole scene, and I love that's why I love like the whole background where you see the hex shrinking, and I'm like, oh, Like,
Yeah.
oh
Here
no,
comes the wave of annihilation.
no. And I know they showed that like in the preview, in the trailer for, I think it was for the season or like the mid-season one. They show where they're both looking out the window and they see like a big light coming out.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I thought like now, like when they show, like they kind of reveal what it is, I'm like, cool, like this is deep. And I think the dialogue just added so much. They didn't even have to have any dialogue in that scene of like just basically what was happening. But I think the way like what they added and like who was saying what was like perfect to the circumstance of what was going on.
And just really, really well acted and delivered by the crew. So
Yeah.
good stuff there. One other thing I want to circle back to too before we get to the post-credit stuff. I thought the score for this episode really stood out, particularly for the big goodbye. You know, it swells and it's very heartbreaking and adds to the emotion of the scene. So kudos to that. I can't say it stood out for the rest of the series, but it was very noticeable at that point, and it was well done.
Yeah. I think on second rewatch for me, I think episode 8 has it a little bit, especially when she's, back in reality with Vision. I think it kicks in really well. But yeah, I mean, it definitely adds a nice little touch there at the end with kind of how it was building for the season.
Yeah. This Marvel has a really good reputation, I've noticed, with their scores in like bigger moments. Like not necessarily like they don't have the best like kind of scores throughout all their movies, but I think like in the moments that really matter, like they've really like take it up a notch, and I think it adds to an already emotional episode, like not necessarily series, but episode in 5-10 minutes. Right. So yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so moving on, we get our first post-credits scene.
Hopefully everyone saw the 2 credit scenes.
Yes,
with this show.
And guys, being fans, I'm sure you have. Go ahead.
What was the first one about? The first one, I was confused. What was going on there?
Well, if you had seen Captain Marvel, then you would probably know.
I got it.
Yeah. Listen, for anyone at home, we've explained this before, but Chris hasn't seen Captain Marvel, and he calls himself a Marvel fan. Second, Chris is very big on, I'll just read about it, and then I'll get it. And so that's probably what he's done. Chris, what? Have you watched Captain Marvel?
Nope.
Exactly. And so he's already read about it. Yeah.
Guess what?
Go ahead. I'm guessing. What?
I understood. I got it.
Oh, surprise. Great job.
But you weren't as fully emotionally invested as you would have been had you seen it.
Probably not. Yeah, you're right. Like when she turned into a Skrull, and I'm like, all right.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, this is another week where Chris has not watched Captain Marvel. So keep the counter running at home.
Guys. I promise.
Dude, I don't want to hear it. Continue, Greg. Move on.
Yes.
Move on. Don't even let him finish.
The Skrull says to Rambo, old friend of your mother's would like to meet you. Heard you had been grounded. What are your thoughts? Who do you think that could be, guys?
Chris, go ahead, since you're the expert
Nick
on
Fury.
Yeah.
I think it's Nick Fury. Without knowing anything about Captain Marvel, I know that Nick Fury is on the ship, like up in space. Mm-hmm. So I think I think they're kind of alluding to that. Other reason too is where Monica's going to kind of fit in the MCU. Whether or not, if I heard this correctly, they're getting a Nick Fury TV show.
Yes, I believe so.
So where that's going to kind of take place too, like, will that take place in space or on Earth? Like, will Monica fit into the Nick Fury TV show or more Captain Marvel too?
So the Fury TV show is going to be Secret Invasion, which
that's right. Okay.
Yeah, it's primarily revolving around the Skrulls.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he could absolutely fit in that. I thought it was Fury as well, just because, old friend of your mother's, and that they went through that whole movie that Chris didn't see. But you had a different take
person. I thought it might be Talos, just because if you watch Captain Marvel, well, Chris didn't, so
that's a good point.
Yeah, so I think it could maybe be Talos, but this is also where, like, I guess I don't do enough research to know, but it's like I feel like there's a Captain Marvel 2 element of this that maybe they're hinting at that will make more sense when it comes out, and it could be Nick Fury, and just put an exclamation point on that you guys were right on it. But yeah, for me, it's just more wait and see, and these are the things I enjoy, more questions than actually answers. So I love it when they left us with this.
Keeps us hooked.
Would it be Jude Law?
Unlikely.
Okay, thank you.
No spoilers, Chris, but unlikely.
Yeah. So then moving on to the second end credit scene, We have Wanda in my dream home, just a secluded cabin
Out
in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by mountains and a lake.
That was
It
that was
must
my
be-
favorite Marvel shot. It has nothing to do with like any like no superhero or whatever. Just
Yeah.
as was zooming in, I'm like that like I don't know where they found that place, if that's CGI or whatever, but that is that whole shot was amazing.
Do you know what that place reminded me of? It wasn't I know it's not the same because the place I'm talking about is much bigger, but it kind of reminded me of Skyfall. Bond's dad's home.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
It was like
I like
the
that.
same type of
middle of nowhere, just out in the woods.
mhm.
Yeah.
So during
Chris
that
probably didn't see Skyfall, so
I saw that
man.
part.
Jesus.
I
Yeah,
saw that
okay.
part in the trailer.
So a couple things to note here. First is Wanda has the power to astral project while she's awake. So this is
whatever that
this
means.
is well, so this is pretty huge. So Harry, you've seen Doctor Strange. You
I
know
have.
Doctor Strange can astral project. He sends his
Yes.
spirit out. That can
Just like
only
Tilda Swinton.
yes, exactly. But that can only be done when somebody is like asleep or in a coma or like meditating. So seeing Wanda actually moving
Just hanging
around,
out, making some tea.
yeah, in her waking life, also astral projecting is like mind blowing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy. And then what else was she doing there?
She was reading
was
the
she-
Darkhold.
Yes.
Yeah. The Darkhold. Yeah. Yeah, I knew it. I was going to say it, but Chris beat me to it. So I had that one on the answer sheet.
Oh, I'm
Greg.
sorry, Harry.
Please award me points for that.
You guys get points. Both
Oh, yeah.
get points.
It was from the big fight with Agatha.
Exactly. So yeah, she's got the Darkhold. She's leafing through it, and she hears the kids screaming, seemingly in agony or for help or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. Will we see the kids again?
I think so, and I think where we're going with that whole hearing the kids scream
Mhm.
is going to lead into the multiverse. I think that she's kind of similar to what Doctor Strange was doing in Infinity War, where he found like the million different possibilities or however many it was. I think she was kind of delving into the multiverse. One was possible. I think that she was like kind of looking in. I think it's where the multiverse of madness is going to come into play. Like it's going to be like a direct sequel to this.
So I think we're going to see them again because it seems like they're building to the Young Avengers. And here's who we've got on deck so far. We know Kate Bishop is going to be in the Hawkeye series. So that's young Hawkeye. Cassie Lang, Scott Lang's son or daughter, has been introduced. She's Stature in the comics. We have Billy and Tommy, who are Wiccan and oh god, I can't think of the kid's name.
Is his name Speed?
Speed? Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
Speed. Wiccan and Speed. So we have the two of them. America Chavez, who is like the Captain America equivalent, has been confirmed to be in Doctor Strange 2. So we have her. So there's got to be a Young Avengers. Like they're definitely building to it.
Also, what's the Iron Man? What's her name?
Oh yeah, Riri Williams, Ironheart.
Riri Williams. Yeah.
And if you want to throw in Kamala Khan, they have Ms. Marvel. She's got her own series.
Right.
So all of these characters, they're definitely building to a Young Avengers. So I'm thinking these kids have got to be brought back somehow.
Yeah.
Hare, believe me, I know you got that glazed over look again, but I'm telling you, the Young Avengers series, very, very interesting and fun to read. And it's not like it's just, hey, let's take the Avengers and make them young. It's more than that.
Yeah.
So,
I'll wait and see.
So how did everyone do on their hot takes? Let's go over and see.
Let's jump to the next segment.
Yeah. Hare, let's start off with you.
All right.
What
So
was your hot take?
My hottest take that we left off with our last our last WandaVision episode was someone else is helping Wanda to do this, and it is another X-Men character. So obviously I was wrong because someone was hurting Wanda. And I guess it's another X-Men character. I don't know where Agatha Harkness lies on the not
She's
on
more
the
like
X-Men
Fantastic
scale.
Four or
Okay,
Doctor
all right.
Strange.
So then I was wrong with that. So
Yeah.
pretty trash take for me. But what else is new?
Hans, how
Chris?
about you?
All right, if we're gonna like start nitpicking around here,
We gotta.
I said
Yes.
that Agatha was helping Wanda inside the hex. I wasn't wrong, but if we're going by word for word, I wasn't right.
Yeah, I mean,
Living with you must be a joy, Chris. Catherine must have a wonderful life.
No, so
I literally just laughed so hard my back cracked right now.
so Agatha did help Wanda without her knowing, for the most part, of controlling some of these people inside and to really kind of manipulate the situation. Was she helping her? No. But
yeah, let's revisit all your traumas in your life. Come on, let me know what your secret is, buddy.
Let me kill your dog. Let me kill your dog, Sparky. That's got to help
Yeah.
you, right?
fine, I was wrong.
Let me put your kids in the basement. Oh, just all fun and jokes.
So, okay. So moving on to my hottest take. Now, mine was Mephisto manipulated Wanda, and that was clearly wrong. But I will say, if you go back and listen to the episode,
You too?
my original take was, hey, I think Wanda is in control of all this, but I think that's too far out. I don't think that they would do that. And sure enough, they did. Like they actually let her be the one causing all of this grief and misery amongst the citizens of Westview. So was I disappointed Mephisto wasn't there? Nah, not really. I think they did a good job with how they tied everything up. And as soon as Agatha was revealed, I was like, well, that puts the kibosh on the Mephisto thing. I don't think they're going to have Mephisto controlling Agatha. It's too much to do within the span of time they've got. So, yes, I was technically wrong, but my first take, had I stuck with it, would have been absolutely correct.
Well, I was technically right then.
All right. We'll meet in the middle. We're both right and both wrong.
Yeah. Me being right is saying that, like, Scott Pilgrim is a comedy.
Yes. Well, that's wrong.
Technicalities.
Yes. It's not a comedy. It's an
go
action
listen
fantasy.
To our Fave 5 comedy podcast and just justify my feelings on podcasts. So
Throwback.
Or on comedy, sorry.
So we had some leftover
attacked.
questions and notices and things, observations, things of that nature. So what you guys have here?
So where do we think Bizarro White Vision went to?
I'm calling him Bizarro White Vision. It's no White Vision.
Bizarro Vision. Dude, there's like 4 iterations of Vision now. Like just
It's
call him
just
Bizarro
White Vision.
How-
He's White Vision. He's
How
white.
many
White Vision.
times? How many times did Vision die?
3,
5?
4?
2.
2 in a matter of 2 minutes.
There was Magical Vision, which died, and then there was Original Vision, which got the Mind Stone pulled out and died. So that's 2.
He got killed twice because the Mind Stone blew up. Then he got brought back. Then he
Did
died.
Ultron kill him? Did Ultron technically kill him?
What?
No, Vision killed Ultron.
But didn't Ultron kill Vision before that, or hid Vision? No?
No.
All right.
No, he was
I was
trying to
curious.
make Vision.
Yeah, Vision just like they're like,
Yeah.
we need a storyline. Let's kill
Where
Vision.
did
Yeah.
White Vision go? Where did White Vision go?
To struggle with his newly unlocked data.
Yeah.
I don't think there's
You think he's in the cabin across the lake?
Dude, I
from-
was just
from
gonna say
Wanda?
that. What if you go on
Hey,
like the other side
Still
of the
going through
mountains?
stuff? All right, we'll talk
Creephole.
soon.
Yeah.
The other side of the mountains, there's just like another house where he's at. They don't
Yeah.
know that they're both there.
And we've already established that Vision can be kind of creepy sometimes, just floating into Wanda's room. I think
yeah.
that was in Civil War or something like that. So I'm sure
Yeah.
he would have no qualms about doing the same at her cabin.
Mm.
Oh, you got the Darkhold, Wanda.
Yeah. I don't trust that
Careful
Vision.
with that text. I don't know. It's got the word dark in it.
So what else do we have here?
This is nothing. This is just me getting my hopes up and not
Of
knowing,
course.
not knowing basic FBI stuff.
Mhm.
When Jimmy Woo said Quantico,
Mhm.
my immediate thing was just because it sounded like quantum. I was like, oh no, we're talking about someplace like really deep, like another division of the FBI that has to do with like this stuff. Now it's just where the FBI is located.
You've never heard Quantico before?
You never heard of the show Quantico?
No. I probably heard people say it, but it's kind of like when people talk about like CIA and they say like Langley, that I know. But when you have a word, especially when there's another Ant-Man movie with Jimmy Woo, who's probably going to be in it, called Quantumania, sorry, I thought they were related.
Have you seen The Silence of the Lambs?
years ago.
Okay, because
Have you seen
the whole first scene is her working
Oh, I
out
didn't
at
see
Quantico.
Mindhunter.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't watch Mindhunter. I want to watch Mindhunter.
Yeah,
Very
it's
good.
really
Check
good.
that
and
out.
It takes place in Quantica.
Thank you. But yeah, I heard Quant, and I'm like,
Right. I hear you.
Quantum.
yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris. Go off with your other. With your
Yeah.
rest
What
of your
else? What other
notes.
takes you have here?
Paul Bettany's big cameo that he's been talking up for weeks,
With an actor that he's always wanted to
that he's
work with.
always wanted to work with, is Paul Bettany.
It is Paul Bettany.
I mean, kudos to him for
Yes.
for
Nice.
making that happen.
Talk about biggest troll. Yeah, I think Bettany gets the award.
I think
Beautiful.
he might have shut Twitter down. I think like he probably caused Twitter to crash because then you have like Elizabeth Olsen, who she said that there was a Luke Skywalker like cameo, and she didn't say, and she was smart and didn't say anything else. Like they probably said like don't just stop. Meanwhile, Paul Bettany's like, well, an actor I always wanted to work with. He probably went through like the X-Men cast list and said, there's probably about 7 or 8 people on here that I didn't work with. Let's just get the talk going. And just know it's Paul Bettany.
I take umbrage with her quote though, because I would say White Vision is more than a cameo. It was a cameo in the episode he debuted in, but in the series overall, it was more than a cameo. I mean, he had a whole freaking fight scene.
I know, but that's not a Luke Skywalker level cameo.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe
A
for
Luke
her.
Skywalker. All right, what I really wanted to happen, and I think I tweeted this last week where I said like, I think I figured out the end of WandaVision, and I can't wait until next week when basically it just is
You're
proven
wrong.
false. So I honestly thought what was going to happen was all like the sword team was going to roll in. White Vision was basically going to be standing over Wanda, like somehow, like, and beating Wanda. And I thought you were going to have like all these guns lined up, getting ready to kill Wanda and Fake Vision or whatever. And then like all the guns start shaking. And then you see Michael Fassbender as Magneto somehow coming into this world, which would have been supporting Harry's original like claim that Magneto would have come. I thought that was going to happen. I'm kind of looking back, glad it didn't, for the sake of the story, because I would have taken away from how the show ended. But that's how I thought it was, and I thought that would have been like Luke Skywalker level cameo, not Paul Bettany.
Yeah,
I've been looking at Paul Bettany's face or hearing his voice since 2008.
Harry, what are your thoughts on Paul Bettany's ultimate trolling of the fans?
I mean, I think it's hilarious. I'm all for misdirection. Big fan of Now You See Me. But not the second one. But more the Prestige. But
yes.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, I thought it was cool. I thought it's funny. It's a great way to hint at something and be like, "See, I always wanted to work with myself." So pretty funny with that.
Yeah, I've seen that like kind of like, and him in interviews, he seems like that kind of guy who isn't like who doesn't take himself seriously, like can joke around a lot.
Mhm.
Great guy to get a beer with, I presume.
Yes, I bet. And I think that's kind of like that's just his personality of just like, I'm gonna mess with the world, like literally mess with the world. And everyone thought it was gonna, like, some of the names were like so crazy that they were thrown out there, and it's
So I
just
stay away
just
from
him.
all of it.
I started to. I like for this. I didn't go on Twitter for like a while after I watched this episode because I'm like, I'm not letting people ruin it for me.
Hans, you had an observation about Tannhauser Gate?
Yes, a little Blade Runner Easter egg. There was also Tannhauser Gate was on the marquee when Monica was going into the movie theater to meet. I believe that character person was a Skrull. I don't know. Fill me in. And so I thought that was kind of neat, especially with Tannhauser Gate, how it's referenced. Like, and anyone who's ever seen Blade Runner is as probably one of the greatest dialogues from Roy Batty's character at the end, which was all ad-libbed for the most part. But they talk about Tannhauser Gate, which I did a little tiny bit of research, which is I'm gonna end up going way too deep in it. But in terms of science fiction, it's seen as like a gate, like an entranceway to like basically like a dock, like between solar systems or other stations or whatever.
So kind of like a wormhole, or
I guess, yeah,
Okay.
like some kind of transport.
Okay.
So a lot of people were saying, in terms of, now I haven't seen Captain Marvel, but no, like just watching the end credit scene, they were saying that maybe that theater could have been a gate to get Monica up to space or wherever they were going. So I
Okay.
thought that, but I think it was just a pretty neat Easter egg because they don't really mention that in too many other science fiction movies, and I know it's not like in the Blade Runner book. I think it was for the most part, Ruckert Howard like actually came up with that on his own, which I thought was pretty
Oh
neat.
wow.
But yeah, most of that monologue was ad lib by him. Like he wrote it the night before, didn't tell anyone, said it, and like there were like people crying on sets. It's pretty fun Blade Runner knowledge.
Okay.
So,
Harry, you had something here?
Yeah, I just what do you guys think as far as this as a series? Do you feel like, I guess, because I my big takeaway from this felt like when you play a video game and you have a side quest or like a DLC, like extra content that you can add on to kind of add to the world of the Marvel universe, but this didn't feel the same to me as obviously their movies do. But I mean, again, we're coming off of, some of their biggest movies, ever with the last, two with Endgame and Infinity War. Like, I just felt like this was like an extra add-on, and it was nice to dive into these other characters who like we know, and they don't really have a true origin story for. I mean, I guess we did with Vision. But what were you guys' feelings on it as an overall series?
I really loved it. I did. And I think it was I struggle because I would say that your comparison to DLC or like a side story is kind of apropos, but at the same time I don't want to say that this is wholly unnecessary, because if you go from the end of Endgame to seeing Scarlet Witch there versus whatever's going to happen in Doctor Strange 2, you need to see WandaVision. Like it's going to be an unintelligible jump from those 2 points if you skip out on WandaVision. So I won't say that this is something that could be completely dismissed, but
no, absolutely.
But I mean, I enjoyed it overall, and I thought, as far as quality goes, it superseded anything that came before. The Marvel TV stuff, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, they didn't have the best budget, and the writing could kind of ramble on from time to time. The Netflix stuff was really good, but it was also vastly different because those are all street level characters compared to, witches fighting in the middle of the air with surrounded by magic energy. So it's kind of like an apples to oranges comparison between this and the Netflix shows. But yeah, overall, I really liked it, and I think it's a great addition to Marvel TV.
Yeah, and Greg, mentioning like the previous shows, like with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, I think what makes the show a lot different is that those shows are like a product of already existing events in the MCU. So Agent Carter was obviously like started from, I didn't watch it. I think it was like started right around like Captain America's kind of like the early, or like right after Captain America went into the ice. Like it was basically Sharon Carter's story, or not Sharon Carter, Peggy Carter. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was made basically, from the Avengers on, like they focus on storylines that are happening in the movies. I think what makes WandaVision a little different is the fact that this is setting up the future of the MCU into the next phase. So I think instead of being a product of an already existing storyline and everything, it's setting up as basically the doorway to the next set of stories we're going to get from the Marvel universe. So I think this, I don't consider this like a DLC, kind of as you put it, only because I think this is going to be like a necessity. Now, could you basically like see Doctor Strange 2 and somewhat know what's going on? Like I could probably explain 5 minutes. Like if Catherine goes to watch Doctor Strange with me, can I explain to her like what happened in 5 minutes? Yeah, you can for the most part. But I think that the whole, I think Scarlet Witch is going to be kind of, I don't want to call her the new Iron Man going forward through the MCU, but I think her role is going to be much larger from like a main character standpoint, where they're not, I don't want to say they're going to build around her. I think that's still going to be like, I think Doctor Strange is going to be like the new Iron Man for the most part, but I think you're going to see Scarlet Witch as kind of like the Captain America or whoever else. I can't even think of anyone like kind of like another name right now. but I think she's going to be such a big character that, yeah, you're right. You're going to want to fill in those gaps between Endgame and, I mean, Endgame, she was in it for less than 5 minutes. So like from like Infinity War to Doctor Strange too.
The other thing too, you know, in comparing this with previous Marvel shows, is that this was the first show that was done by Marvel Studios and not Marvel TV, because they used to be separate divisions, and Marvel TV was headed up by a completely different dude. Apparently didn't work well with Kevin Feige, and you know, with Feige's continued and growing success, I believe they shuttered that division and they just consolidated everything into his oversight. So, and it's paid off.
I only watched the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, and I think that's it. I didn't see like really anything else from the Netflix shows, which I wanted to, but I know that
they were pretty good, except for Iron Fist. And Defenders was okay.
And they just got the rights back to Punisher and Jessica Jones? Did I make that? I think like within the past month or so.
I think so.
Or something. Like they didn't get Daredevil and Iron Fist or Luke Cage, but
right.
You gotta watch Jessica Jones for a little pass by from our boy Frank.
That's
right. Yeah.
Super secret cameo.
I mean, I don't mean to undersell it as like a DLC. I felt like it was just if you guys have. Well, if you played Spider-Man, if for you video game heads out there, like there's a DLC that you can play, but if you miss it, like you're probably not going to miss too much. But I did love the show, but I just looked at it as like a nice little add-on, or hey, you know, when you get to the story of your game where it's like, hey, would you like to continue on the main quest, or hey, this person has this side quest for you. It's like, oh, let me go do the side quest and I'll jump back on the main story. So I definitely see there's a bigger picture, but like I love the show. So I don't want people to think I didn't like it. I loved it.
No, I can see people thinking that it is like just like an add-on, but I think like Greg said, with it being the first show of Marvel Studios, like Marvel Studios isn't doing anything by mistake. Like Feige
100%,
is a genius. Like he has like 10 years of Marvel works mapped down his head.
Yeah.
And like I just, you know, I think that this is a necessity for real like Marvel fans. Anyone stepping in at this point, you can be like, I can sum up WandaVision for you in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And leave out all the less meaty stuff.
All right. So I guess that brings us to our final topic, which is, you know, thoughts on Falcon and Winter Soldier. What do we think is, how is that going to be? I guess, is it going to be as quality as this was, or, you know, what are we expecting?
Yeah. I mean, here's the one thing is I think, I don't know. I'm stuck between like I want them to kind of tie in some things with WandaVision to kind of help build, but I won't be surprised if they just totally ignore that and have something else that they're building, like you know, or another, not a big bad, but like another storyline or building in a new character or something like that. So I'll be excited. My biggest hope for it is that it at least, you know, gives us stuff to talk about, obviously, but that it add something to the Marvel universe that is new, I guess, in a way, or that keeps us guessing. I don't want to walk out of that and be like, oh, well, here's the answer to this question from WandaVision. Now, I know they were supposed to come out opposite, but you know, originally, but yeah, I'm super excited for it now. I think with the end of this, it's just like, give me more, you know, and I know they're doing the making of WandaVision next week, and then boom, we're right into Winter Soldier. So, you know, and Falcon. So that's super exciting.
Hans, what do you think?
It's going to be a much different tone than WandaVision, like, and which I'm kind of excited for. It's going to be very realistic. I throw that word around, but it's not going to have any like magic involved for the most part. I don't think the way they've been advertising it, it's going to be like a buddy cop action movie. It's 6 episodes, which I would hope it's longer. I think it's only 6.
Oh,
but
wow.
Hopefully it's hour long. Like they're longer episodes than like WandaVision was. But I'm always been like, Captain America's been one of my favorite superheroes. I think like in the comics, I love the Winter Soldier character. So I think including him, and I think it's going to be fun to see the two characters just kind of banter back and forth, because they're like the kind of like they hate each other, but they kind of like respect each other too. Like they have to work together for the most part. So their small kind of rivalry in Civil War is hilarious when, you know, they're kind of just bannering back
Going
and
back
forth.
and forth, yeah.
So I would love to see more of that, and I love Baron Zemo. Daniel Bruhl is anytime he can get added back in is great. So I'm all for it. So hopefully it lives up to kind of the expectations coming off of WandaVision, but I think it's going to be like just a complete 180 in terms of tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to touch anything that WandaVision did, and I'm okay with that. My biggest hope is just that it keeps that same level of quality that WandaVision had, because like WandaVision set the bar really, really high. So I am hoping that that trend continues. I know not everything can be a home run, but man,
it's going to be tough to see if like Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan can carry a TV show, because they've been supporting characters in the MCU for pretty much since their debut.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting to see. Now, I mean, like the same with like WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany didn't have a like major roles for the most part. Like they weren't like the lead, like the subject of these movies. So it'll be really cool to see if they can kind of do a Captain America show without Captain America.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, folks, that is our WandaVision episode 7, 8, and 9 recap. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Hans, you got anything for the peeps out there?
You're
muted, buddy.
Oh, sorry. I got nothing except a lap full of water because I just spilled my cup.
Spit take.
But other than that, follow me on Twitter, PHILATTP. Still no improvement on the followers, so we'll
get there. We'll get
me to 100. I'll throw out a special episode thanking everyone when that happens. So
excellent. Harry, how about you? Anything for the peeps?
Well, I hope they enjoyed our touching base on WandaVision. I hope they've had a week. We've given them a week to basically catch up to WandaVision. So hopefully you're watching that shortly after, and we're taking a little bit of a break to until our next episode. But super excited to discuss what our next topic is.
Yes. So again, we will be back March 26th. That's 2 weeks from now. And we look forward to having you guys tune in. Until then, everybody, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, follow, leave us a review on iTunes, all of that good
comment,
stuff.
Anything.
Yes,
we want to hear.
Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you liked, disliked about WandaVision. So thank you guys again. And just remember, live spicy.
Spicy.
Bye.
Voice with no body, a body but not human, and now a memory made real. Who knows what I might be next? We have said goodbye before. So it stands to reason.
We'll say hello again.